worried about the future of America. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to be Biden's climate change advisor. So we got that going. Sources telling CNN that Ocasio-Cortez is going to help heal the rift in the Democrat Party between those who support Biden and those who wanted Bernie Sanders. Wow. I saw something on social media last night, and I went through and confirmed all of the numbers, and they're true. A tale of two states, side by side, New York and Florida. I did this yesterday with nations. You know, I was comparing an apples to apples number of the death rate per 100,000. And I went through the list of nations and countries that shut down, like we have, and Sweden, which did not. Some people didn't like that comparison. They didn't think that was apples to apples, and of course it is. I know every country's different. I know every country has a different demographic base. I know every country's different geographically, culturally. New York City is unlike any city in America. New York has a whole different environment. I get that. But still, I'm looking for stuff that I can compare. I'm looking for apples to apples. I'm not looking to cherry pick either. I want to know how we're doing. In fact, how are we doing? You see any stories about the flattening of the curve? Remember how fixated we were with flattening the curve? Have we flattened any curves? Nationally? New York? Seattle? Florida? Anyone? It's funny how the media doesn't seem too interested in better news, because there is better news. The virus is still with us. There's still, of course, a risk to everybody. I just wonder why the media doesn't seem to be breathlessly reporting decreasing hospitalizations, decreasing infections, decreasing deaths. Still a lot of deaths. And, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We had 1,426 new deaths over the last 24 hours. But again, perspective sure seems important to me. According to I looked this up last night, the UN World Population Prospects Report reports on daily deaths all over the world, including the United States. This was from last year. The last year, we lost 7,452 people a day. Almost 7,500 people a day die in the United States. So it's terrible that 1,426 people died to coronavirus. But you understand what I mean about perspective? Does that count? Here's the tale of two states. Now again, big differences. New York City, for example, where most of the cases or a big percentage of the cases came from. People on top of each other in dirty subways, buses, you know, streets, sidewalks crowded with people in what I will always believe is the greatest city in the world. I miss it, miss New York, miss the vibe, miss the restaurants, the shows, all of it, the people. There's an energy there. Everything you hear about New York is true. It's why all the movies and TV shows are centered around New York. It's different, it's different than Miami Beach. But let me just do this side-by-side comparison. And one big difference, of course, a Republican governor like DeSantis in Florida, who was eviscerated for trying to open Florida too soon, they said, and a Democrat governor like Andrew Cuomo of New York. Let's compare these two sets of numbers, shall we? Side by side, New York State, not New York City, the entire state of New York has a population of 19,500,000. The entire state of Florida has a population of 22 million people, okay? Population of New York State, 19,500,000. Population of the state of Florida, 22 million. State income tax, New York, 8%. Florida, 0%. State budget, New York, in debt, demanding the rest of the country bail them out. Florida, balanced. COVID-19 cases, New York, 325,000. Florida, 40,000. COVID-19 deaths, New York State, 26,282. Florida COVID-19 deaths, 1,670. Now, by the time you hear this, those numbers might be a little bit up or different, of course, but that was confirmed. I confirmed every one of those numbers by every resource I had available to me last night. A tale of two states. Now, I don't know what the pushback is to that. Somebody gave me a pushback on the comparing Sweden to the UK or Sweden to the US or Sweden. I was stunned that you would make that comparison. What's stunning about that? That's apples to apples in terms of deaths per 100,000 people. I know every place is different. Of course it is. So all I continue to do is look for baselines and apples to apples comparison to try to get an idea. I really would love to know. New York City. Let's look at New York, the epicenter. Yesterday, the mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, said at a briefing that there's a mixed bag. Incidentally, the mayor of the biggest city in the country has never been tested for coronavirus. I don't know how that is. I don't know I don't even understand that. He and his wife have visited hospitals numerous times. They are out there, He's the mayor of New York. He's never been tested. Maybe he doesn't need to be. I don't know. Maybe none of us need to be. I'd like to be tested daily. I got some sniffles this morning, and I'm getting my will out, getting my house in order. And I feel great. But, we all have concern. We're all wary of what is out there. Let's look at numbers according to the New York Daily News and Mayor de Blasio's press conference yesterday. The number of people admitted to hospitals with COVID-19 systems in New York was 78 on Monday. On March 31st, there were 850 new admissions to hospitals. Let me say that again. On March 31st, according to the mayor of New York, on March 31st, there were 850 new admissions to the hospital. On Monday, there were 78. Now, again, not a scientist, not an epidemiologist, I'm not a statistician. It sounds to me like 78 hospital admissions is a heck of a lot better than 850. In fact, de Blasio said, quote, "We're a hell of a lot better than we were a few weeks ago." Now, we're not out of the woods. It's not done. It's not over, but doggone it, shouldn't good numbers and decreases be just as dramatically covered in the news media as what we saw during the first month or so of this crisis? And doesn't that play into the state's decision to reopen? Is there anything I've just said that you disagree with? In fact, let's do that. Let's clear out all the lines. Have I reported anything just now that you find fault with? Let's do that. 1-800-655-MIKE. 800-655-6453. Here in the ReliefFactor.com studios, there's a lot of political news. There's big news out of California. A Republican won a deeply long-held Democrat seat. That seat that was vacated by Katie Hill was a Republican victory. But first, let's talk about a tale of two cities, two states. Let's talk about the differences in countries. And let's talk about what I think is real encouraging news that nobody seems to be acknowledging. The economic news is horrific. The economy is horrific. We're in Great Depression territory. But yet, in terms of the health crisis, it is dramatically better today, isn't it?